Hello and welcome to the program Sula's Big Adventures with me, Sula. This episode is another in my continuing series on dark sky sights, and this one is about one of my favorite places on planet Earth and a wonderful place for stargazing or astrophotography, and that is Inyo National Forest in the great state of California in the United States. Inyo National Forest is approximately 2 million acres or 7,700 square kilometers, so it's huge, and it would take probably 10 episodes to cover the whole thing. So I'm just going to cover the northern section of it from Lee Vining, California, which I covered last year, and I'll give you a link to that if you care to watch that video, and continuing to Bishop, California. This national forest is gigantic, and it's long, straddling practically the length of U.S. Highway 395. So I'll tell you how to get there from the Bay Area. You basically drive to Yosemite National Park by taking Interstate 580 to Highway 120 and entering Yosemite Park at Big Oak Flat entrance, and then turning left onto Tioga Pass Road, and then exiting the park and driving down a long, winding, scary road, Tioga Pass, all the way to Lee Vining. That is from May to November. In the winter, Tioga Pass gets too much snow and it's closed. If you want to go in winter, which is a nice time too, and it's a road that they keep clear all winter, you go to Interstate 80 to Reno, Nevada, and then you turn right onto Highway 395 and you just go south. Coming from the San Francisco Bay Area or San Francisco International Airport, the first place you get to in Inyo National Forest is Lee Vining. But continuing south past Lee Vining, the stargazing opportunities are endless. The Inyo National Forest follows all along Highway 395, which goes from Reno, Nevada, all the way, I think, to Los Angeles, California. And it follows along the eastern side of the Sierra Nevada mountains, what John Muir called the Range of Light. This mountain range includes the highest peak in the lower 48 states, Mount Whitney, at over 14,505 feet or 4,421 meters. But at the base of the mountain range, incredibly, is desert. And just east of Mount Whitney in the desert is the lowest point in the United States, Death Valley. Death Valley is a national park in the United States, and it's not part of Inyo National Forest. But incredibly, you can go from the lowest point in the United States, Death Valley, at 280 feet below sea level, and just 70 miles away is the highest point in the lower 48 states. Incredible. But I basically wanted to point out that a lot of the Inyo National Forest includes high desert as it climbs up into the eastern Sierra. So that means good weather and good sky conditions for stargazing throughout the Inyo National Forest. And by the way, the word Inyo is a Native American word, and it means dwelling place for the Great Spirit. If you visit Inyo National Forest in the summertime, July or August, the wildflowers are spectacular. And if you go in the fall, when the aspen trees are turning their golden hue, it's astoundingly stupendous. We first took a hike in the Ansel Adams Wilderness to Gibbs Lake, where we saw no one. Today we're in the Inyo National Forest in the Ansel Adams Wilderness. And we're going to take the Gibbs Lake Trail. It's a pretty alpine lake, and the dirt road leading to the trailhead presents ample opportunities to pull over and set up your telescope at night and have a clear view of the sky. And most of the time, very nice weather and dark skies. And the hike was very nice and pleasant. It exceeds the scope of this video, but We also made a side trip north of Inyo National Forest to the Tioga National Forest to hike a stunningly beautiful hike to Green Lake and East Lake. And that area also includes great opportunities for stargazing and astrophotography at Bodie State Park and the Tioga National Forest. But this will be its own video at a later date. But this hike was so beautiful, I wanted to include it in this video since we took it on the same trip. Okay, this morning we drove north from Lee Vining about 16 miles to here, the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest and the Hoover Wilderness, and we're going to take the Green Lakes and East Lakes Trail. I think it's about 8 miles round trip. We're at 8,000 feet already, and we're going to go up to 9,000 feet. I just hiked 5 miles with a 1,700-foot elevation gain to get here, East Lake, in the Hoover Wilderness in Tioga National Forest, California. Beautiful lake.
Bob, don't need to go anywhere.
Beautiful, beautiful area in the Eastern Sierra. But getting back to the focus of this video, after hiking to Green Lake and East Lake, we went back to the Inyo National Forest and we found a dirt road, and we had a fantastic evening of stargazing. It was very clear and there was no moon and no one was around and didn't bother me, and I had a great time. The Milky Way was very defined and prominent and beautiful. Continuing south, there's a clearing on the road that goes to Obsidian Dome that makes a good place for primitive camping. But after that, you come to Mammoth Lakes, and it's south of Lee Vining. It's home to the ski resort, Mammoth Mountain. So it's getting very light polluted, but it still has some nice places to hike and stargaze, but it's definitely not the best place to stargaze in Inyo National Forest. But if you're in the area, you should definitely check out the minarets in Red Meadows, which used to be part of Yosemite National Park, but it was removed so people could mine for gold, copper, silver, and zinc. But fortunately, President William Howard Taft made it into part of the national monument called Devil's Postpile in 1911, protecting it in perpetuity. The minarets are very beautiful, and I recommend a stop there at the Vista Point, or even hike up San Joaquin Ridge with outstanding views of the minarets, Mammoth Mountain, Crowley Reservoir, and far beyond. But then, after leaving Mammoth, keep going south on Highway 395 for much better places to stargaze. About 18 miles past Mammoth Lakes, you come to a blue federal sign on Highway 395 that says Tom's Place. I've been to Inyo National Forest many, many times. As I said, it's one of my favorite places in the world. And I would pass that sign that said Tom's Place on it, and I just assumed that Tom's Place was a town because otherwise it wouldn't be on a federal sign on a federal highway. Well, we decided to stay there And it turns out it is not a town. It's a run-down set of cabins that are in desperate need of repair. Tom's place includes a store and a restaurant and a bar, which they've spent much more money on than they have on the upkeep of the cabins. And like most lodges, it had too many outdoor lights to make stargazing there possible from behind our cabin, which is unfortunate because that would have been much more convenient. So after checking into our cabin and having our dinner, and by the way, they do give you a full-size refrigerator and a stove and oven. I drove north back to McGee Creek, where you can easily pull over on the dirt road at many places and have a fine evening of stargazing. Or you can even camp there at McGee Creek Campground, or you can stay at the McGee Creek RV Park or McGee Lodge, but both of those places have lots of lights, as does the little town that's grown up around Crowley Reservoir. The benefit of staying at Tom's place is that there are several places to stargaze just up the road, Rock Creek Road, which, by the way, is the highest paved road in California, topping out at over 10,000 feet. So Tom's place is no good, but if you drive just a little up Rock Creek, then you can find some pullouts to set up your telescope. Don't go too far up that road though, because it gets very high, but also because it becomes a canyon. And at the end of Rock Creek Road is a resort and some of the most exquisite, breathtaking hiking and vistas in the world. We hiked the gorgeous Little Lakes Valley Trail to Gibbs Lakes. Chicken foot legs. Check out these peaks. Beautiful, beautiful peaks. Sierra. One of the most beautiful places on earth. What do you think?
It's stunning. Such a wonderful hike.
Beautiful hike.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Now there's nobody.
That evening, I found a nice pullout on a dirt road, and I took some photos of the Milky Way, and also I set up my 10-inch Dobsonian for a splendid evening of stargazing. So much fun to stargaze in a beautiful place like that. The next day, we checked out of Tom's place. I would never stay there again. And instead, we camped at the McGee Creek Campground. During the day, we drove down to Bishop, California. It's about 24 miles south of Tom's place, and indulged in something at the famous Schatz Bakery. And then we drove up the long winding road to the incredible Ancient Bristlecone Pine Forest. Hello, today I'm in the Ancient Bristlecone Pine Forest in Inyo National Forest. The ancient bristlecone pine trees are the oldest living thing, and the oldest tree in the world is in this grove, in this forest, which is called the Schulman Grove after Dr. Schulman, who pioneered dendrochronology to determine the age of these ancient trees. These trees are up to 4,700 years old. The oldest tree in the world is in this grove. It's the Methuselah tree, 4,700 years old. It's not marked because crazy people try to chop it down. I don't know why, but it's in this grove, and many of the trees in this grove are nearly that old. These trees thrive on this soil, which these rocks are called dolomite, and they used to be an ancient seafloor. And what happened was, due to plate tectonics, where the Pacific plate slammed into the North American plate, it thrust it up to here over 10,000 feet. And that's where you find the ancient bristlecone pine trees. They're called bristlecone pine because they have these little bristles on the pine cones. This is a bristlecone pine cone right here. So we're going to take a walk on the Methuselah Trail. It's about 4.5 miles, and the trees are very pretty when they start to age. So let's go have a look at the ancient bristlecone pine forest at Schulman Grove in the Inyo National Forest. It started to rain just as we began our hike, but not too long thereafter, the sun came out and I saw the most vibrant, beautiful rainbow I have ever seen in my whole life. I could not stop looking at it. My camera was getting raindrops on it, but I didn't care. I was enthralled. I was in a trance looking at that thing. And then we went back to camp at McGee Campground, which is an excellent place to stargaze during the week. On the weekends, it fills up, and you get your usual campers with bright lights and Christmas lights and etc. But if some camper lights bother you, you can easily just go back to the road and drive up the road and find a more serene place to stargaze from the road and get some fantastic photos too. McGee Creek isn't far from Rock Creek Road, so we went back the next day to Rock Creek Road for an incomparably, ineffably beautiful hike to Hilton Lakes. It was astounding. I am running out of adjectives to describe this place that means so much to me. This hike is 11 miles round trip to Hilton Lakes into the John Muir Wilderness. Hilton Creek.
Came back to Robin Creek, and we're gonna hike this trail, but only as far as Dorothy Lake, 6 miles round trip.
We took another hike in Rock Creek to Dorothy Lakes the next day because my 25-year-old book, Day Hikes in the Southern Sierra, said it was easy. It was not easy. It climbed 1,400 feet in 3 miles. I don't call that easy, do you? But Dorothy Lake, wow, it is surrounded by mountains which were reflecting on the calm waters of the lake, and it was grand and splendid. This is Dorothy Lake. That evening, I was able to stargaze another 2 hours with my 10-inch Dobsonian before the clouds swooped in. I just love this area. I've been there many times and I never get tired of it. It's a wonderful place to stargaze and I highly recommend it. Just stay away from Mammoth Lakes, which is too light polluted, and stay away from Crowley Reservoir, which is also starting to get very light polluted. But away from those two places, there are ample opportunities to just pull over the many dirt roads in the area between Lee Vining and Bishop and have a wonderful evening under the stars. And during the day, the recreational opportunities are mind-blowing and endless. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see y'all soon. Dark skies forever. Sula signing off.